Welcome to the Private Practice Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Storm, here to help you unlock the mind, business, and spirit of your private practice success. So whether you're just starting out or you're looking to grow, this is the place for you if you really want to create a thriving private practice. Before we dive in, I want to share something that can really make a difference in your business. Imagine having an expert in your pocket, someone available on demand whenever you need guidance. Well, that's exactly what my new program, Practice Momentum, offers. With over 30 years of experience at your fingertips, you can now get the support you need whenever you need it. Curious? Head over to brooklynstorm.com to learn more. And now let's get into today. So welcome to another episode of the Private Practice Podcast. I'm so pleased that you're here. Today, I'm going to talk with you about something that got a lot of traction. I posted recently on Instagram, which I know is pretty rare for me. I don't always post on Instagram, do I? Yes, so the other day, I was just in the mood to batch record a bunch of videos, and I think I've recorded about 20. So they're all like 5 minutes or less. Just on things that pop up a lot in our community for women in private practice. Things like, how do I get a client? You know, what's going on with the website, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm just starting to post them. I posted one yesterday and it was on, hey therapist, do you have a freebie on your website? And is it not getting downloaded? Because I hear this a lot and I see it a lot too. So when I do the website wellness checks, I often see that people have a freebie. And I want to talk with you today about why it's not getting downloaded now and what you can do to ensure that it does, and also give you some context for why we have them, because I know maybe you don't know. So yeah, let's just dive in. Okay, so why we have them. We have a freebie, also referred to as a lead magnet, on our website. It's something we give in exchange for somebody's email. Okay, so we're not just giving them something because we want their email. It's called a lead magnet, not from our industry. Again, this is something else that's like seeped its way into our industry somehow, and counselors now just kind of assume that they need one. You don't. They come from other industries, and they're called a lead magnet in other industries because it's a way of getting a lead, right? A lead meaning somebody who might be interested in what you're putting out, in what you're selling and stuff like that. And so there's a whole process behind it. Now, as I said, we don't have to do them, but it's important that you understand what the context is. So in these other industries, the whole idea is once you've got somebody's email address, then you put them into your email marketing system, which is not your Google or, your Galaxy or anything like that. It's an email marketing platform. So I use Flowdesk. In the past, I used MailChimp, but then moved over to Flowdesk because Flowdesk was just so pretty and easy and I could just drag and drop everything. So I'm with Flowdesk. I do have an affiliate link if you want it, and it will give you a discount. But anyway, you could use MailerLite, ConvertKit, Infusionsoft, all the things. But unless you've got an email marketing system set up, there's no point you even really having a lead magnet to download, okay? With email marketing, if you don't know how to do email marketing, again, not much point you having a freebie on the website, because probably all that's happening is without it, somebody's downloading it and you're not doing anything with that email address, okay? Email marketing, obviously it's like huge. I can't go into it in a short podcast episode, but I can certainly explain what it is. Email marketing is when in your email, we want to have different audiences, and you'll have an audience for all the people who downloaded your PDF. And then what's going to happen is you will have a series of emails that are already written that go out on autopilot, and they go to the person who's given you their email address. And the point is because we want to build a relationship with them. right? We want to give them a sense of who we are. We want to be top of mind for them when it comes the right time for them to, take a leap and actually go and do something, take action with our business. And maybe that's going to be book an appointment. Maybe it might be book a discovery call or an inquiry call. Maybe it might be buy something on your website that you're offering, as part of your passive income revenue stream, things like that. So that's really what it's for. It's a way of building an audience and developing an audience. And of course, there are right ways and there are wrong ways to go about it. Now, I want to be really clear and say you don't have to do this. If you're a woman in solo private practice, you are already wearing 15 different hats, and I'm not even joking. It doesn't make sense to me that you would add another layer of learning. Like, you're going to have to go and learn how to do email marketing if you're going to want to put a freebie on your website. All right. So anyway, if you're in, it's had so many name changes now because I keep upgrading the program, but it used to be called Clients on Demand. Then it was called Marketing with Soul. Then it was called More Clients Marketing Program. Now it's called Marketing for Mental Health Professionals. But anyway, if you're in that, you already know how to do it. You've got all the trainings and the lessons there, and you're probably doing it well, which is great, because when you do it well, it means that you can reduce your active marketing, because this thing sits on your website and it just does everything behind the scenes without you needing to continuously show up, right? That's what I mean by non-active marketing. It's just kind of doing its thing for you in the background. So if you don't have all of that set up, and you don't really have time to learn, and you're really not that interested, I wouldn't bother, okay? But if it's something that's important to you because you really believe that this is a great way to, get clients and all that kind of stuff, which it is, then I want to talk with you about why it's not getting downloaded, or why you might have seen a drop off in downloads, okay? Because lots of people have. And my thought is pre-AI, so I'm going to have to Google it, but I'm going to say maybe ChatGPT's been around, I don't know, is it even 12 months yet? So let's just say it's quite recent. Before then, a client might come to your website for your private practice, and, you've got a niche, and within that niche you work a certain way, and you get you support people to experience certain shifts and changes and results and all that kind of really good stuff. If they wanted to learn more about you and more about how you work, and maybe even get a result themselves, then they're going to come and download your free guide, because where else are they going to be able to access this information? They can't. You're a trusted, credible authority. You're a reliable source. They're going to get it from you. Since ChatGPT's come onto the scene, and I would also say since master resale rights have come onto the scene, two things have happened. Master resale rights is when you buy bundles of pre-made things like a manual, worksheet, checklist, workbook, audios, meditations, tapping videos, scripts for things, all of that. You buy it as a bundle, and the master resale rights means that you have a license to go and rebrand it with your practice colours and fonts and logo, and then sell it on, right? So I really believe with the introduction of AI and, of course, the big boom in master resale rights, I think what's happened is that, our PDFs have been devalued. Not saying that our skills have or our knowledge has, but it's much easier now than ever before for a client to just jump onto ChatGPT, or for somebody with no mental health experience and training to be selling essentially what you were putting out with your PDF, simply because they went on to, Etsy and bought a master resale rights bundle, right? And they're making bucket loads off it, selling it, and it's essentially what you had. So it's not that you've lost credibility, it's that information is so much easier to access, and the quality of the information is high level. If your PDF is very general, then it just can't compete with what's available out there in terms of Mastery Soul Rights products that non-therapists are selling and selling well, versus also what people can get off ChatGPT. Now, we use ChatGPT in our business regularly. Most of us, many of us, okay, and other AI as well. I use two AI. I pay for two. I use ChatGPT and I also use Claude. And the reason why is because they're both AI platforms, but they both do different things, okay? And I really like the way Claude speaks. I don't really like the way Chatty speaks. Chat GPT is super easy to detect. Claude isn't as easy. It's still detectable, but it's not as easy to detect. Things like that. Detect meaning when somebody reads it, right? If somebody reads something that's written by ChatGPT and beside it, they've got something written by Claude AI, they can always say the one on the left was ChatGPT. They'd be often confused about who wrote the one on the right. That's what I'm saying the difference is for me in my experience. Might be different for you. That's how I find them. So we have to be mindful that our clients are also very smart, okay? Unlike us, well, I'm saying unlike us. I really mean unlike me. I'm 50. The internet wasn't around when I was born. I was outside, drinking from the hose and playing with sticks and making forts in the backyard and, playing 40-40 in the street until the lights came on. And when the street lights came on, that was my signal and all of our signals to go home to our parents and have dinner. So that was it, right? The internet didn't really sort of come in until I think it was like, it could have even been my first year at university. I remember there was this very special place called the Computer Lab, and you had to go through all of these checks and crosses to be able to get access. I went to Monash University, and the Computer Lab was like, whoa, like serious stuff. And I remember that the software, it wasn't Google or anything like that. It was actually called Netscape Navigator. I remember being a teenager and my first boyfriend, having one of the first mobile phones because he was in the SES, and it was like a brick. It was like, kind of looks like today's version of a satellite phone. So, times have changed, but look at all the people growing up now. Look at millennials, Gen Zs, Gen Alphas, like they've grown up on social media. They've grown up with tech. Like it's not necessarily a massive learning curve that they've had to go on like us Gen Xers, right? But they've still, of course, had to learn and adapt and all of that, but it's in there every day, okay? So hold that in your mind whenever you want to publish something that's been clearly written by ChatGPT, because they're smart, okay? You and I, it might never occur to us to have a look at something and go, oh, that was written by Chatty, but because other people that you're working with as clients are using it in their own businesses or maybe for school, for their own research and stuff like that. They're very familiar with it. They're really, really smart and they're tuned in. So if they're seeing that what you've written is actually not something that you have written, a few things happen. The first thing, and this is the big thing for me because, my take on marketing is you don't have to do all the ads and you don't have to do all of the big things. You don't have to push. I really believe you being authentic, you showing up as you with your flaws and your good things, your celebrations and your lessons and all of that. I think that is what makes you you, and that builds connection, that builds rapport. And I think it's that I really do believe in mental health, in health and wellness, like even play therapy, OT, speeches, I think it's the same for all of us. Our businesses are built on our ability to create rapport, and we do it better than any other industry. We build rapport better than retail sector. We build rapport better than hospitality. We build rapport better than manufacturing. Like we are the queens of building rapport. So when a potential client or somebody in your audience downloads your free thing, or even maybe they haven't downloaded it yet, but they've read the blurb about it, right? And it clearly looks like it's written by Chatty. That authenticity is lost in an instant. It's just gone. And it's going to be super hard for you to recreate that with that person, right? You're going to have to be really good at repairing ruptured relationships. And it's one way, because that person probably is not going to, fill out your contact form and say, hey, the reason I'm not going to become a client is because, there's no authenticity anymore. It's just not going to happen. You will never know. I'm sharing this with you because I want you to be able to grow your audience and, of course, be able to get clients. But again, other industries like coaching, like retail, stuff like that, they're going to have to be doing content that includes, big bright lights, flashy things, discounts here, limited stock, get it now, end of season sale. They're strategies that work in those industries, but they do not work in ours, right? I don't think people care as much in retail if the seller is being authentic, right? I think people just understand they're a big business. I'm talking about big retail here. I think people just generally understand they're a big business. You probably would see it more in small businesses, there's a small business that I really love supporting. Her name is Sarah Blueco, and she makes jewelry with crystals and hessian and jute and stuff like that. It's really, really beautiful stuff. I think she does, a good-ish job of trying to build rapport with her audience, but that's just one example that's coming to my mind now. So what are we going to do for those of you who want to rely on this strategy, but don't know how to fix it, right? Don't know how to get more downloads? I'm going to share with you some insights that can help, all right? Again, these are only going to work if you implement them. Like anything, stuff only works if you implement it. It's like, my marketing course, it costs thousands of dollars and not everybody goes through it. A lot of people join it and they do a little bit and then they just get waylaid by life and they just never come back to it. And then later on they'll approach me and they'll say, hey, just send you a private message because, I need your help. I say, yeah, what's going on? How can I help? And I say, oh, I don't have any clients. I say, oh, you're in the marketing course, right? And I go, yeah. I say, yeah, so I haven't seen any of the work. Like you haven't submitted any of it for me to check. And they're like, oh, well, I haven't done it. I'm like, okay, so you got to actually do the stuff. You can't just sign up for things and read things and then assume that it's going to work. You've actually got to implement. So what I would suggest is make it more human, okay? And the reason that that's going to be so important is because AI, while it might have access to being able to do things like deep research and stuff like that, so it can regenerate a PDF probably 10 times better, more useful, more helpful, more impactful than the one that you created from your heart and soul, it can never replace you, right? It can't replace you as a person or anything like that. And that's really, 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 really important for you to understand, because it's that human connection that's going to change everything. Okay, so all right, I'm just having a quick look at my Instagram post so I can get you the notes. All right, so the notes are: we make it more human by adding your perspective, adding your thoughts, adding your strong point of view to the PDF. We want to infuse more of you into this otherwise very cold document. You can do that in a few ways. You can, if you haven't already, add a welcome page. So again, just speaking from my experience and my knowledge, checking people's websites, which, as you know, I've done so many hundreds of them now. usually when somebody's got a PDF, I will go and download it because I want to check that, what the process is and that they've set it up the right way and everything. And when I go and have a look, 9 times out of 10, when I go and click, download the thing, it's just a single sheet. It doesn't have a logo. It doesn't have contact details, nothing. I would say level up the PDF, put a nice cover page on it. A second page could be a welcome page that explains why you put it together, right? Why was it on your heart? Why did you think so many people needed to have this specific resource? Why did you put it together? Explain that. Share a little bit about your story with this particular challenge, right, that your freebie addresses. Include a photo of yourself. It can be a headshot if you want, but I'm all for natural shots. If you want to do selfie, I say go for it. Just make sure it looks okay and it doesn't look stiff or pixelated or blurry or anything like that. If you can hear tapping, just my screensaver, so I'm just putting in my password. Make sure GarageBand is still recording, which it is. So I would definitely do that. And then give instructions like this is how you do the thing, give them some direction. And then give them the thing, and then after that, don't just finish. I would always recommend have another page there where there's something for them to do. So we want them to be implementing. So the implementation could be something like exercises, journal prompts, habit tracking. We want them taking action, want them doing something. That is also going to be able to humanize it. So I would definitely recommend that. And then the next page after that should be next steps. So give them the next steps, right? If you're not doing that, you're missing out on getting clients or inquiries or sales of other things that, you might have available for them. So not everybody's going to be ready to go and book a session for $160 or $240 or whatever your fee is, right? They're still sussing you out. They've liked the experience that they've had with your PDF, and now they're curious and they're like, okay, maybe I'll do something else. What else has she got? And so they might be open to going and looking at something related that you've got for a lowish price, right? So if you don't have next steps for them, how are they going to know what next steps are there and available for them to take? They just won't. So give them that information. And I would always say, don't dive into book an appointment and don't dive into book a discovery call. The reason why is there's research out at the moment, and you can go and Google it, but there's research out at the moment that says that lots of people now don't like making phone calls. In fact, the research says, and I was talking with a colleague about this the other day, the research now says that it's more common for people who want to phone somebody, even a friend, to text them first and say, hey, would it be okay if I could call you? When would be a good time? So this is the etiquette now. This is the social protocols now. So if the only way somebody has of getting in touch with you about the next steps is, to book that call, you could be missing out. I'm not saying don't do them. If you want to do them, but have options. So in the PDF, give them an option for those who want it to have a quick conversation with you, get their questions answered about next steps. Or if they don't want to do that, what else can they do? Maybe they might like to shop your resources for your niche. And if they'd like to do that, you give them a link to your page, your shop page, not your home page. Link it straight to the shop page on your website. The reason I say don't link it straight to your home page is because they're going to get confused. They've just been working through your PDF. They love it. They're not going to book a call because that feels uncomfortable. I never book discovery calls. And if a business coach wants me to do that, they're not the coach for me, right? I want to just be able to go buy the package, get started. So when they click the, button, maybe it says shop the resources, you call it whatever you want. If they go to your homepage, what's going to happen is they're going to be like, hang on, what's going on? I thought I was going to a shop. And then they're going to start looking around the homepage and they're going to have a feeling yes or no. If they have a feeling no, guess what? You've lost a potential client. They're going to unsubscribe. So you've lost somebody in your audience and, it's all gone. It's much better to take them straight to the shop. That's what they're expecting. So take them there. It reminds me of when I went to China, right? So I went to China now I know I have ADD, but this is not one of my tangents. It reminds me when I went to China. I can't remember when it was. It was after the Olympics because I remember going and doing wushu, which is a type of kung fu that I was training in. I went and did wushu and got photos of myself doing like split jumps and things like that in Bird's Nest Stadium. So, Bird's Nest Stadium was brand new. So it was just after that. So I don't know. Was it? I don't know. I'm going to say, I've got no clue. 2009, 2010 maybe. I went there and anyway, I'd booked all these tours before I went and it was so exciting because I had made my own little itinerary and, it was like on one day I was going to go to the Clossoni factory. The next day I was going to go to the Terracotta Army. The next day I was, going to go make dumplings and the next day I was making silk quilts and everything. So I had all these activities booked and I would get in the car with the driver and then there would be an English speaking tour guide. And I would say, oh, I'm so excited, we went to the Great Wall of China as well. So I went to Great Wall of China, went at the crack of dawn as the sun was rising because, this is a tangent, because my tour guide was like, it's going to be, sub-zero. You're going to be freezing. We're going to go and buy you a really warm coat today because you want to get a photo as the sun's rising because nobody goes out at that time of the morning because it is way too cold, which means we can get lots of photos of you on the bridge without any other tourists. So I was definitely up for that. I mean, when in Rome or China as the case may be. So yeah, but any time that she and the driver picked me up and I thought we were going to go here or there, I got like these side tours and I remember like it was fun-ish, like some of them I liked, but other times I was like, oh come on, can't we just go to the like where I'd planned. So I remember going to Great Wall of China and then I had a different tour booked in the afternoon, but on the way back from the Great Wall of China they took me to the fireworks factory. I was like so confused why we're at the fireworks factory. It was because it was Spring Festival and we got to set off fireworks in the car park with the government officials and it was like it was fun, but I was still like, we've got a side quest, what's going on? It was very confusing. We don't want your PDF to take potential clients on a side quest and then they get confused about what's going on and they get out, right? A confused mind will never take action. This is also perhaps what's happening if you've got a high bounce rate on your website, but that's a whole other conversation. If you want me to look at your website, I can. Let me know and I'll give you the link to go and order a website wellness check. You don't have to do anything. I'll do it all and then I'll send you the assessment. Anyway, that's really, really important. And then, of course, you must have your email marketing set up and that's your sequence of emails that the person gets once they've got your freebie, right? And the whole point of that is to build a relationship. So you need to know what to write in those emails and how to write them in such a way that somebody feels like, okay, I'm ready for more. So that's what is happening with the PDF. That's the context. That's why you see them on websites. If you didn't know that context, hopefully this has been informative. I hope that you understand now that there's a whole thing. It's not just about going into Canva and making something and whacking it on the website. There's reason behind it and there's a process behind it. It is part of marketing. The other thing that you can do is for those of you who sell digital products, so maybe you sell a workbook, for example. Maybe you've got an anxiety workbook for, I always use this example, busy working single mums, right? Maybe you've got a workbook. Why not sell it and then have a order bump for, a half hour, let's do it together implementation kind of thing, right? I think really it's going to be story and implementation that really helps you with your PDFs. And the other thing too is, and I always say this to the women in Momentum as well, it's also really about making sure that what you're putting out there is valuable. And that doesn't necessarily mean, like one of my beautiful clients, I love working with her so much. She takes on board the advice, she runs with it, it works. Like she is just doing amazing stuff. But she was saying to me recently, how much should I sell I forget what it was, I'm just going to say workbook. She was like, how much should I sell my workbook for? And I said to her, well, it depends. Like how much does it help somebody? And she was like, I don't know. So if you can't answer that question, you can't price your product. I was like, well, what's it worth to a client? She was like, I don't know. And I said, okay, so like if you don't know what it's worth to a client and you don't know like how useful it's going to be and all those kinds of things, then you're really only left with stuff like lowish ticket pricing, which is not, it's where you want to be, yes, but it's not always where you want to be, depending on the goal and the intention. Let me explain. A low ticket offer, again, there's context. I was going to say you'll never make $1 million from it, but there are people who've made millions of dollars with low ticket offers, probably not in mental health and wellness. But the reason that we have a low ticket offer is because we want to reduce the barrier of entry, which simply means that we want to make it easy for someone to become a paying customer or a paying client. And the reason for that is because once somebody has spent money with you, it's easier to connect them to your other services and things like that. Like they're no longer someone who's only looking for free things anymore. Now we're sort of starting to say, okay, this person's a little bit more serious. They might want more stuff and things like that. So really, really important to make sure that we've got a low barrier of entry for somebody. And that's why we have low ticket. And low ticket can be something like $9, $11. Usually it has an odd number at the end. It's going to be like 17, 27, 37, 47, 29. It's usually got an odd number on the end, not a 0 or a 5 or a 4 or a 6 or an 8. It's just biopsychology. However, if you do know the value of the product, if you do know how it helps, and if you know those things that I just mentioned a moment ago, then of course you're going to be able to charge a lot more for that product, and you should be charging a lot more for that product. So that's something that I just wanted to share with you. I think PDFs are dead in terms of it just being like what you've probably already been using in the past. And I think it's time to up-level your PDF. The PDF, I think, really needs to be dynamic. I think it needs to include unexpected information. I think it really needs to, if somebody downloads this PDF, we want them to have the experience of, oh my gosh, like if this was free, imagine what the other stuff looks like. Yes, please take me to the shop. I want to see what other resources you've got. I know I've done that. I absolutely have done that. I have done that a couple of years ago. Well, not a couple, probably about 10 years ago now, with Rebecca Campbell's stuff. I even did her Work Your Light course. I loved it. I had her cards. I bought her Work Your Light book. I bought her Light is the New Black book. I really loved everything. But I started with her because she had a freebie, and I downloaded the freebie, and it blew my mind. Like I didn't expect it to be so helpful, so useful, so good. And then I, went over to her website. I was like, what else has she got? And that's not the only person that I've done it with. And it's probably the same for you. So That's what we want your clients to be experiencing. And the other thing too is when you go and up level, bring it to 2025, the PDF from 2024 and beforehand, gone, not working. Once you up level it, bring it into 2025, maybe even get ahead of the curve and anticipate like where PDFs, where your lead magnets, what they might be looking like in 5 years' time. Once you can do that, everything's going to start to change for you. Okay. It's not just anything that you can download a template and, go and write your own stuff anymore. It now needs to be something that's, infused by you, your thoughts, your ideas, your takes on things, and that's actually useful and helpful. Okay. And that also means nothing that is readily available on chat, nothing that's readily available on Instagram, right? Your PDF on box breathing is not going to add value to anybody's life. They can go and see, inspirational quotes about how to do mindful walking and be in nature. All that information's already there. They've heard it so many times. What they want to know is what's your take on it. Right? That's what I mean by bringing more of you into it. Okay. So, go and up level your PDF. If you want help with it, let me know. I'm thinking about, just like I do the website wellness checks, I'm thinking about doing like some PDF checks. So I might see if I can put like a mini offer together. And if people want help with their PDFs so that they can get downloaded more, they can build out their audience and all the things, can absolutely put something together and help you out with that as well. This is something that I've gone into in a lot of depth in Practice Momentum. Yesterday, I also made additional resources for the women there. They want to run some workshops, a few of them. So I thought it might be helpful to show them how to do that. And so I've put together some resources for them, including like some video trainings, of course, but also some worksheets so that they can understand the process of like planning it, marketing it, so that they get sign-ups, buy-ins, all enrollments, registrations, all the things, and then also some training in there for them on how to monetize it. So I'm looking forward to teaching them that and supporting them as they go and make their websites, workshops. So if you really want to make workshops too, or if you've tried with workshops and you haven't had anybody enroll, like I get it. It's probably just because, like the PDF, do you see how complex it is and how there's all these sort of moving parts that maybe you didn't know about? It's the same with, running a workshop. There's probably a whole lot there that you don't know. And when you do know, it gets to be really easy. Okay. And I want that for you. Why shouldn't it be easy? And maybe as the women in Momentum are, getting to the stage where they're marketing their workshops, I might see if they can come on and talk with you a little bit about what they're doing and how they're doing it and things like that too. If they're up for it, of course. Like I haven't even discussed this with them. Speaking of, I need to go because in about 10 minutes, I'm going to be going and meeting with them to do another 90-day planning session. So I hope that you all have a really beautiful day. If you're interested in coming along to Momentum, the waiting list is open. There are 20 places available. The 20 places go to the first 20 people who meet the criteria on the wait list. It's by invitation only. If there's not 20 people on the wait list that meet the criteria, then it will be open to the general public to come along and, buy in. If not, just I'll close the doors. And I honestly don't know when the doors are going to open again. They opened in, was it January or February? And now it's they're opening in the 15th of July, so middle of the year. So I don't know, it kind of makes sense to have a doors open at the start and the middle. So I don't know that it would make sense to do it again, but who knows? Okay. All right. Have a beautiful day, everyone. And I'll talk to you later. Thanks for listening. Bye. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Private Practice Podcast. So as you reflect on today's insights, imagine creating real success in your private practice without going down rabbit holes or exhausting yourself with business activities that don't move the needle. With Practice Momentum, you have push of a button help available on demand. It's like having an expert in your pocket ready to guide you whenever you need it. Visit brooklynstorm.com to discover how Practice Momentum can transform your approach to building a thriving practice. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storm, and I'll see you next time as we continue exploring the mind, business, and spirit of private practice success.